All right, can you deal me one hand of blackjack so I can say I played a hand with Tommy Hyland?
Sure.
You can be the house.
Okay.
I'm going to take all your money. I'm all in.
Yeah. So usually when they start, they would burn a card.
Yeah, we'll burn a card.
And then you would get a card.
Oh, queen of hearts.
Then I get a card down. And you get another card.
Oh, and jack. Oh, baby.
You got
the count is plus 100.
That's like the best. That's a significant advantage. A 20 against a 5.
20 against a 5
all
day.
You almost can't lose.
All right,
so
double down. Double down.
You don't split. No, you can never double down. Some people would split. If the count's high enough, you're actually supposed to split.
Would you?
Those.
Okay. What if there was jacks?
If there's
would I split it against a 5?
Well, you can split a jack and a queen. Any 10 cards you're allowed to split.
You are?
Yeah, but you only split those if the count's pretty high.
Okay.
You never split those when we're first starting out. So there'd have to be a lot of extra 10s and aces left in the shoe. So you'd have to be really unlucky to lose this hand. It's like, to lose that match today, we were really unlucky.
Really unlucky.
The same thing would happen.
Unlucky.
Look, now you're in trouble.
He turned to 6. He's got 11, 15,
20. We tied.
20.
So
man.
We pushed. All right. That's good.
Well, that's
a good outcome.
I played a hand with Tommy
pushing
Hyland.
that golf match today. That would have been nice.
Yeah, we were close. Tommy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine, except for that bad round of golf.
I know.
I'm doing fine.
So the Tommies came up a little bit short today at old Tavistock Country Club, but we had a lot of fun.
We had a nice host, Mr. Bill
McGinnis. Legend.
Nice host.
What a great host. Legend of New Jersey golf, period.
And the whole Philadelphia area, not just confined in New Jersey.
Really, his reputation knows no bounds. But no, he is the best host and a very, very fine player, of course.
Although I think we brought him down a little bit.
Oh, he definitely fell to our level of play here at Tavistock, which is a really cool spot. I think there's a fun fact about Tavistock not everybody knows. So it's a beautiful country club, a great country club golf course, but it shares something in common with Pine Valley, which is not very far from here at all. We're in Pine Valley country. That it's its own village, municipality, township, if you will, just like Pine Valley, which I think is pretty cool. But a great golf course. Too bad, we didn't bring it to its knees, but it's had a lot of fun.
Absolutely beautiful too.
It is.
Tremendous condition.
Yeah, we got a great day for it. So it was great being out there playing golf with you. So you're known as Tommy Hyland, right? You're known as one of the greatest blackjack players of all time, one of the original professional card counting full-time blackjack players. You're in the Blackjack Hall of Fame. I've watched documentaries about you. There's books about you, or at least chapters and books about you. But your story that I think is really interesting is you have a heck of a golf story as well. I mean, between what you've qualified for or won in the Philly section, Pennsylvania, and at the national level as well. Tell us about some of those things that you've been able to accomplish in golf.
Well, that's a little very flattering, but not really that accurate. My accomplishments are a function of being a absolute golf bum, just playing in so many events that eventually, if you play enough, it's like the monkeys with the typewriter. Eventually they're going to write the greatest book ever if they keep typing on the typewriter. I just played so many tournaments, and I have had some nice finishes, but nothing that great. I mean, it's like I just love the game, and I love to compete, and I try hard. And I've won some very minor tournaments, and I qualified for 5 USGA events.
Yeah, qualified for 5 USGA events.
A bunch of club championships, but nothing compared to hundreds of other guys.
Well, you're being very humble, because as someone who tries to qualify for these things all the time, to have played in 5 USGA events, to always be, and the Philly section is very competitive. So to be playing in,
I usually avoided the Philly section when I used to try and qualify for these things. I actually was obsessed with trying to qualify for USGA stuff. So I tried to look at sites that I thought would be easier than the Philly section. And, sometimes it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. But when we were out there playing today, you've had hole-in-ones in how many of the different section events? Or
well, in the Philly section, I had in every quote unquote Philly major, I had a hole in one except for the Philly Open. I had three one in the Philly Mid Am, one in the Philly Amateur, and one in the Patterson Cup.
So some pretty good golf, Tommy. Really impressive. And obviously you love your golf, but your story, again, being known as a blackjack player, it was golf before blackjack for you, right?
Right. I was a decent Little League baseball player, but once they moved the mound back, I couldn't get the ball over the plate anymore. So I gave up baseball and I started with golf. And I had like a homemade game, but I became obsessed with it fairly quickly. And I used to just watch all these guys at the club that were good players, and I used to just pick up little pieces here and there from them. And I got to be a pretty decent player. I was able to play Division III golf and had an absolute blast in college. I had one good year. My junior year, I was a Division III All-American. And all of a sudden, I couldn't make a putt from 2 feet. The most famous thing about my golf game is I'm famous for all these different putting styles. I used to
I noticed that.
Before all the pros started, I was putting. I used to have a regular putter, and I used to get down next to the ground, holding the putter real low next to the blade, just to try and make a 3 and 4 footer. I used to. Billy McGinnis told me one time to try closing my eyes. I did that for 6 months. I mean, I putted left-handed for 15, 20 years on and off, but I was just obsessed with the game, and I had a lot of ups and downs in the game. It's a tough game.
It is a very tough game. Another tough game is blackjack. We're going to talk about that.
That's an easy game compared to golf.
I want to get to the heart of that for sure. You had 2 putters. I will attest. You did. You brought 2 putters to the green with you every time today, which does signal to one that here's someone who's been through maybe the ringer with the flat stick.
Right.
But you played it you played great on the back, made a lot of pars. We battled back.
I'll tell you, it was inspiring the way we took those guys down on the back.
It really was. Front 9 might have gone 5-3-1.
Yeah, we forgot about that.
We forgot about that
we
part.
Focused on the back nine.
We're back 9 players. So something does happen in college, right? So you're playing golf, and then what happens? I guess you find a book, and gambling becomes legal in Atlantic City, and what happens from there?
Right. In the winter, I went to college at Wittenberg, and there was not much to do there in the wintertime, and I was walking around the mall with my roommate, and we saw this book called Playing Blackjack as a Business, and we bought the book, and we started practicing, and I was majoring. I didn't know what I was going to do for a job or anything. I was majoring in political science. I thought I might be a teacher. And we read this book and we started practicing, and we just got so lucky. It's amazing how life is. You just, all the twists and turns, you just stumble on something. If that book hadn't have been there, I would have never been a blackjack player. If it hadn't have been in the window of that bookstore, and it happened to be the right book. It was mathematically correct. Back then, there was a lot of disinformation out there about gambling, a lot of fallacious stuff and all. But this was actually right, and it had all these color charts that somebody that's a simpleton like me could understand. And we started practicing and learned how to do it. And then I met some other guys that knew how to do it. I learned some stuff from them and just kind of snowballed. I just learned to play, and I thought I might do it for a year or two, and then I eventually get a job, and I just kept doing it. And almost 50 years later, I'm still doing it.
50 years playing blackjack. Pretty full time, pretty much. I mean, that's,
that's basically all I've done to make a living my whole life,
That is so great. But golf had a part in it, in terms of, so tell us about, assembling a team, because it's one thing to play by yourself, but, assembling a team of players that you're going to teach and teach them how to do it. How to count cards and play a certain way. The golf course and that golf community had a part in that.
Yeah, I grew up at this course in Marlton, New Jersey called Little Mill. And the way blackjack works is you only have a small advantage over the casino, and you have to wait till there's a lot of 10s and aces left in the shoe, and then you raise your bet. Now, if you only you have to bet. Each time there's an extra 10 or ace left in the shoe, you have a certain advantage. And you have to bet money in proportion to how much advantage you have. So if you only have $1,000 at the first time you have an advantage, you might only be able to bet $5. So the idea is you want to get as much of a bankroll as you can, and then you can bet more and more, and you can make more money per hour. I mean, so that's what I did. I started playing with one other guy. Then we had 3 guys. Then I started training all these people from the golf course. I mean, it actually got a little out of hand, but at one time, I had, maybe 2 or 3 bartenders there, a couple waitresses, 8 or 9 members, and I'd teach them, and I'd give them, they'd start out playing $5 chips, and I'd stand behind them at the table. Whenever they made a mistake, I would poke them like this, and they'd be real nervous. But eventually, they all learned how to play, and then I'd turn, and you had to trust people. It's quite interesting how blackjack works. I mean, you'd give everybody, you might get. I remember that we gave everybody $7,000 to go out and play with, and they'd come back and they'd say, I won 3,000, I lost 2,800. And we just they'd write it in a book, and we just trusted them. That's how we did it, and. Golf being a game of integrity and all, that's how I picked these people to be on my team. I said, well, this guy, I've never seen him cheat at golf. He's an honest guy.
Yeah.
If he loses a bet, he pays it. And that's how I kind of assembled my team. And I watched the same with the bartenders and waitresses. If they were giving a bunch of free drinks out, and not charging people, those weren't the people I picked. I watched the people pretty closely before I recruited them. And it worked out fairly well. Eventually, it got out of hand. I got a few bad apples, but, overall, it was a big success.
Yeah. I didn't pay my bet from today yet, so I can't be on your team, Tommy. But I don't think I could figure out. I don't know. You say it's a simple system. I don't know if I could figure it out or not. Is it about? So what is it that? Is it about the money? Is it about winning? Is it about the competitiveness? Is it about beating the house? What really drives you to do this?
Well, that's the rush, is beating the house. I mean, these casinos, I mean, if people don't know much about casinos, they just think they're these nice places to go where, Beyonce or somebody sings or something like that. But they're the most greedy, ruthless people there are, and they're very predatory. And they're happy to take somebody's house, and they're happy to have these people lose it. They keep trying to entice them until they've lost everything, and then they might ask them for a free drink at the bar, and they won't give it to them after they're out of money. That's the way they are, and it's just a very satisfying to beat the casinos.
This episode brought to you by Caesar's Palace in Atlantic. No, just kidding. No, I because I've watched the documentaries about your story, and there did seem to be sort of this like a bit of a Robin Hood element to it, like that there was, every game there is tilted against the player,
right? And
if you can figure out a way to tilt it back in your favor, you can get a little something back,
right? The other games are unbeatable. The odds are fixed. If you there's no such thing as a professional craps player, professional baccarat player. Blackjack is a weird game. If you just play by instinct or by intuition, you're going to lose. You have, the odds are, even if you play perfect basic strategy, which is basic strategy means you do everything correctly with your hand as opposed to what the dealer's up card is. So the only way to tilt the odds in your favor is to keep track of the cards played. And it's basically, you don't have to, the misnomer is that you have to be a memory expert to keep track of the cards played. There's a simple system where you just cancel out the low cards and the high cards, and you keep saying to yourself, plus this, minus this, and whatever. And anybody can learn it. You just have to practice.
Okay.
And, that's how you get the advantage. When there's a lot of tens and aces left, it favors a player. And when there's a lot of low cards left, that's when you want to bet small or leave the table. That favors the house.
So blackjack, you're in blackjack, and you also, do some, and we should also note here, this is completely legal. Using your brain to win at blackjack is legal.
Yeah, that's another misnomer. Like, invariably I'll be playing golf in a tournament or something, and some guy will say, will be a threesome, and some guy will say to the other guy, "What do you do?" And he says, "I sell insurance." And you say, "What do you do?" And he says, "Oh, I'm a financial advisor." And they'll say, "What do you do?" I said, and I always have to preface it. I always have to say, "Well, I've got kind of a weird occupation. I do that thing, card counting, playing blackjack." And they say, "Oh, that's illegal, isn't it?" And you have to tell them, "Well, there's no way that could be illegal. All you're doing is doing math in your head. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just that the casinos don't like it. That they're, they try and act like there's something wrong with it where there's not. You're just doing math in your head while you're playing cards. I mean, how could there be anything illegal about that?"
Yeah. And why do they, the casinos will, if they catch you counting cards, what happens?
Well, it's all different. Every state is different. In some states, the card counters are won court cases. Like in New Jersey, they can't make you leave the property. They have to whenever you make a big bet or raise your bet, they just shuffle the cards so they don't take the bet. They just basically refuse the bet, but they can't tell you to leave. And you can keep trying to sneak in, and you can wear a wig, you can wear a disguise, whatever you want. You can try and sneak in and play. They can't they can't force you not to play. And other states, there's one state, Indiana, where the casinos won a case. They said it's private property. They can have anybody on property they want. They don't have to have people they don't want on the property. So then there's two other states where there was no court case, but the legislature passed a rule that they can't bar people from games because of skill. That's Louisiana and Missouri. Every other place, it's a gray area. Mm-hmm. They tell you, they'll threaten you. In the old days, they used to rough you up a little bit. It was the Wild West in the old days. But now, thankfully, that doesn't happen. But they just keep trying all different things. Like Pennsylvania, they frequently tell you they're going to arrest you for trespassing, and sometimes they do. And then I have this lawyer who's been doing this since I started, Pete Solano. We've beaten every trespass case in Pennsylvania. I think we're 9-0. The only one we lost, they had a different kind of license. They had a private license, so we lost. We're 9 and I'm going to say 9-0-1. That's how I characterize
Pretty
it.
good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
So what was it like in the early days? You're making money playing blackjack. You're playing a lot of golf. What was the lifestyle like between your golf blackjack balance? Sounds like not a bad way to spend the day.
When I first started blackjack, I was having some of my putting issues, and I didn't play that much golf. And then I was really concentrating on blackjack, concentrating on training players. But then when I got in my, about 1990, I would have been like 34, right? Yeah. And that's when I started really getting the golf bug again. I started playing every tournament I could find nonstop, right around 90 or 92. And that's I had a little bit of time when I still played golf, but I didn't play that many tournaments and I wasn't very good. But then I started really, I would say the late 80s, I started really playing a lot of golf again. And ever since I've been absolutely obsessed with golf.
Yeah. Do you see or feel any parallels between blackjack and golf? I mean, like as we say, the house in blackjack, there's a way to sort of tilt the odds in your favor a little bit. I think in golf, we're all trying to find a way to do that as well. Yeah. It seems like the house always wins.
I sure haven't found it in golf.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, there's definitely an intersection, with golf and blackjack. I mean, in both, you meet some incredible people. I mean, I can't tell you how many great people I've met at golf, and I've met some I've met some really nice, incredible ladies and gentlemen. At blackjack, I've met some incredibly nice people also, but incredibly smart. I met some, we have this thing every year, the Blackjack Ball, which is a bunch of blackjack players and also most of the people that are in the Blackjack Hall of Fame. And out of 100 people, there was 5 billionaires there that all got their start in blackjack. I mean,
really?
Blackjack is a great introduction to I'm one of the few that never went to anything else after that. Some of these people went on to do incredible things in the stock market and horse racing and all kinds of different things.
So when
One guy, this guy Blair Hull, he ran against Barack Obama in the Senate race in Illinois. He's a billionaire from, the hedge funds and stuff. It's just, and they all started with blackjack. I mean, it's amazing.
That is amazing. I mean, I guess there's patience, right, in both. I mean, if you're playing your system and counting cards and sitting there and doing small, it's work, and you're being patient and waiting for the right moments. Right. And to play your best golf, there's a fair amount of patience involved in that as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. In blackjack, it's incredibly frustrating because you only have a real small edge, and you can be doing everything perfectly and lose for a long time. It can be very frustrating, and as we know, golf is incredibly frustrating. So you have to be even keeled. I mean, you can't have a bad temper at blackjack. You can't have a bad temper at golf, or you're not going to reach your full potential for sure.
I thought it was funny today. You were telling us some stories about, first being the worst caddy in Pine Valley history was interesting.
Yeah, Billy didn't hear that one. I don't think he knows how bad a caddy I was.
Why don't you tell us how bad you were, Tommy?
Well, I'm very absent-minded. I'm always daydreaming. So, I caddied there in high school and college. The caddy master was a member at Little Mill. So I asked him if I could go caddy there. And back then, it wasn't like caddying today. Nowadays, the caddies have a starting time just like the players do. But you used to sit in the caddy shack and used to wait. And so he figured I was going to be a good caddy because I played golf. I was a decent golfer. I was a single-digit handicap at the time. And but I was actually a terrible caddy. It was sad. So one day, at first he put me out right away, and then I guess he realized I wasn't that good at it. So then I'd sit for hours. I'd sit there reading books. I would sit in the caddy shed reading books, and eventually I would get out. So one time late in the day, I went out with this guy, and I caddied for him. I think he was only playing 9 holes, and even though he was playing by himself, he was taking this round incredibly seriously. And I think I lost his umbrella or lost his head cover or something. And we walked up the hill to the club. It was getting near to the clubhouse, and it was getting near dusk. And I walked up there with his bag right next to him, and right in front of the caddy master, he told the caddy master that, how'd you give me this kid? He's the worst caddy I've ever had in my entire life right in front of me. He says, he's terrible. The caddy master started stuttering. He said, I can't believe it. He knows golf. He's a good player. I can't believe it. And he said, no, he's awful. He has no idea what he's doing. And I started crying. And I still remember, I can visualize that scene to this day, like 50 years later.
Dude, that cuts me. That hurts. As an old caddy, yeah, I can remember being laid in. Every time he got laid into, you never forget it. And, oh, wow. That's, it was funny. So you say absent-minded, and then you were telling the story today that you actually, because
like you and I were partners, I kept saying, where'd your ball go? I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking about that putt I just missed or something. I didn't watch your ball.
Next time we play, Tommy, I'm going to drive the cart. But yeah, we ended up having a weird thing today where our friend Jaron hit the wrong ball in 2 consecutive holes. Wait, just wanted to bring it into the conversation, Jaron. And one was my fault because I hit his ball first, and that was entertaining. You said you've actually teed off from the wrong tee in a tournament on the first hole.
I've teed off from the wrong tee, I'm going to guess, at least 4 times in the last 5 years, but and probably in my career, my illustrious career, at least 6 times. But the best was this year in the Old York Road Invitational. The way it was configured, the table was set back, maybe 10 yards from the tee, and there was a regular division, a senior division, and a super senior division. So there was 3 separate sets of tees. So the guy at the table gave us our scorecards, and then he said, you guys can hit at 110 or as soon as they clear the green. And so this guy, so we're standing by the middle tee, which was the senior tee. I'm in the super senior. And this one guy starts to tell a story. And I says, I know that story. I said, let me tell it. So I had to interrupt the guy and take over the story. So I started telling the story. And as I'm prone to do, I made a long story out of it. And so the guy goes, oh, the green's clear, you can hit. And unfortunately, I had the honors. And where I was standing, I just put the ball down, I hit. And the next guy goes hit, and he goes, oh, we're supposed to be up there. So I started out I'm not very good. So for me to start out with a 2-shot penalty, that was a game changer. That was the end of my tournament, unfortunately.
I've never heard of anyone starting off with a 2-shot penalty on the first hole for that.
And here's another, the wrinkle is that if they would have had the tee markers just another yard further, I would have been within the 2 club lengths, but I had to be like 3.5 club lengths behind the other tee.
Now, I'm not bringing up any of this to pick on you, Tommy. I was just noting today that like that part of your personality, it seems at like total odds with what it takes to be the great card counter that you are, where you have to have this, like, in my imagination anyway, this hawk-like focus, and be the opposite of absent-minded. And you've mastered that. Has it just become rote for you? Yeah,
that's a good word, rote. Blackjack, there's a lot of misconception about blackjack. Blackjack, once you learn it, everybody that's played blackjack, that's stayed with blackjack for a few years, everybody's about the same. It's not like poker where some guys are way better than others, or golf where some guys are way better than others. Anybody can do it. It's just a matter of having discipline and following betting according to your bankroll and a few other things. It's not like it's just basically learning it and sticking to it and understanding it. And it's not, you have to concentrate. Don't get me wrong. You can't be drinking. You can't have 10 drinks and play blackjack and beat blackjack. But it's not like you have to be super laser focused like you're playing chess or something like that.
Now, it's taken you all over the world, right? From New Jersey, Las Vegas. It sounded like there was some adventure in St. Kitts in your life. Can you tell us about some of those journeys and places it's taken you?
Yeah, I don't know about all over the world, but I played in a lot of the world. I played in every Caribbean island. I played in Canada, played in Australia. I never played in Europe. Yeah, that's basically it. And I had a lot of
London's calling. There's a lot of casinos.
It's weird. There's a lot of misinformation out there about blackjack. Like, for example, Monte Carlo sounds like this glamorous place with James Bond and all this stuff, but that's a really bad place to play blackjack. There's hardly any tables. The problem with Europe is that the other games are way more popular. Baccarat and roulette are very popular. There's only 1 or 2 blackjack tables at every casino, or maybe 4. And there's a lot of, scrutiny on the, non-Europeans that are there playing blackjack. You can't get away with playing good blackjack in Europe for the most part. Although there's been exceptions. There's been people, there's been pockets where some of my friends have gone to Europe and made lots of money. But I never had the urge to go to Europe to play blackjack.
So when you go into a casino, you're probably recognized. I would say you're definitely recognized. Do you hear your name? That's Tommy Hyland, is that a bad thing if they recognize you?
Yeah, if they recognize me, they don't let me play. So a lot of times I'm not recognized, and sometimes I play for a while and then eventually I'm recognized. Sometimes, I might play for a week and not get recognized. It's just all, it's all hit and miss. It's just it's like you keep trying, and sometimes I'll get to play 5 minutes. Sometimes I'll get to play 5 weeks. It's all basically, according to what you bet and playing correctly, you're going to make a certain amount of hours. So it's all about putting the hours in. You don't worry about whether you win or lose. You don't worry. You don't quit if you're way ahead. You don't double up if you're behind. You just put the hours in. Eventually, you should make a certain amount per hour. You know, you might, depending on what you're betting, you might make anywhere from $10 to $1,000 an hour, depending on how high stakes you are, what the rules are, you know, other factors, how many cards they deal. If they have 6 decks and they deal 3 decks out of 6, that's not very good. But if they deal 5.5 decks out of 6, you can make a lot of money. That's a game where if you bet big, you might be able to make $1,000 an hour.
So, yeah, so it's a business, or it's, you know,
Right.
it's a skill, and you learn it and you treat it like a business. But it's not, you know, a typical job. And there have got to have been some high points and low points. Are there any that stand out to you as like, this was, you know, the day, and this was a tough day?
Well, there's been lots of highs and lows. I'll give you one low. We had these different projects where there's like offshoots of card counting where, like, if the casino's procedures weren't very good, we could take advantage of them, like the way they shuffled the cards. Like, we had this thing, like, sometimes when the dealers would shuffle, they'd clump the cards. So if you watch the cards and you memorize the cards the way they went in the discard rack, and then when they shuffled, and then you saw like a string of cards come out, you could predict the exact next card, which is way better than card counting. Instead of having a small edge, if you knew there was a better than average chance you get a 10 or ace on your first card, or you knew exactly what hand you might get, you'd have a huge edge. It was monstrous. So we had
call it ace tracking? Is that what they call it?
That's yeah. But this was different. We called this the clump game. This is when, you know, a string of cards would come out in the exact order they came out in the previous shoe. So we had these memory techniques where we memorized these cards and all this stuff. So we had this project, and we had an apartment in the Ritz condominium. It sounds like it's a nice place, the Ritz, because it was called the Ritz. It was actually a dumpy, big, tall building by the Tropicana. So we had this, and we had a whole bunch of people. We had all these people from the golf course. All we needed was fresh names, people they wouldn't recognize. And these girls, we'd have these girls memorizing cards, and they'd signal what we call these big players. And we had all these crazy people. We had like the shoe shine guy who's shining shoes for $2. This is back 30, 40 years ago. He's shining shoes during the day for $2, and now he's betting $1,000 chips at the casino at night, right? And we were paying him, you know, and he's getting a percentage and all this stuff. It was real good. These guys loved it. This guy was getting free meals. I mean, this guy, Billy would probably remember this guy because he worked at Pine Valley. He was in charge of a house at Pine Valley for a while. So anyway, we had this big project, this Ritz, and we used to keep we had a big safe, and we put bricks in the safe, and we had money in there, and we had chips. And we did this was going on and on for months. And so one day I'm playing at this club championship in South Jersey at this course, Burlington Country Club. And we had a play going on. I wasn't involved. Somebody else was managing the play or whatever. We had this play it had to be choreographed. We had all these girls and a big player, besides the shoe shine guy, we had plenty of other guys. This big. So somebody else was managing the play. And so I'm on like the 5th or 6th hole and playing a club championship match, and somebody calls me. It was right when, or I think I had a message from the pro shop. I don't think there were cell phones back then. They said, you got to call so-and-so right away. So at the turn, I call him, and he said, hey, the safe is gone.
What?
Yeah, the safe is gone. I mean, this safe was huge, and we had bricks, and we had lead weights and everything in there. So anyway, and we had a fair amount of money. It wasn't a ridiculous. It was 100 and some thousand. We had a ridiculous amount of money, and the thing it was gone. The girl went in to get the chips out, get the play started. The safe was gone, and so I said, "What do you mean it's gone?" They said, "No, it's gone." So I had my priorities straight. I just kept playing. I said, I don't know what to do. I said, I don't know, just cancel the play. I kept playing my match. I had my priorities straight, and so, but then it turned out that there was security in this condo. It was like a 15-floor condo. There was security, and I guess they were in on it. But they they let these guys go up somehow, because there's all these other blackjack teams and other professional gamblers in this Ritz. They all stayed there because it was cheap. And so anyway, they had let these guys go up there with a dolly. Somehow the maid or something must have come in and saw there was a safe. But we had a blanket over the safe. I mean, we thought we did a pretty good job with security, but somehow they knew there was a safe there. They went up there with a dolly. I guess there wasn't a blanket. The safe was exposed in a closet. They went up there, got the safe out, put it on a dolly, put the blanket over it, and they came down the elevator and they walked out with it. And they went to load it in a van. It was so heavy they couldn't even lift it. They got a couple homeless people to help them lift the safe, gave them $10, and they stole the whole safe. That was
oh my God.
Yeah, that was a low point.
You didn't get did you get it back?
We got that lawyer I was telling you about, Pete Solano, we sued the Ritz and we got like 30% of our money back.
Oh my gosh. Well, tell us about a high point. Is there been, I'm sure there've been some moments along the way where you thought, man, that was a good day.
Yeah, there was lots of, one time, one of our high points was a long time ago. It was during I think it was the Holmes-Cooney fight. We had 24 guys go out there for the weekend, for like a 4 or 5 day, over the weekend during the fight. And that's what we used to do back in the day. We'd always go out to Vegas for these big events because there was a lot of action. There's a lot of high rollers betting big, and we would blend in. So, and this is when we didn't have it, and we didn't have that big a bankroll. But normally, some people win, some people lose. You make a small percentage. But I think that trip, like 23 out of 24 guys won, or 22 out of 24, or something ridiculous. Nobody could lose. It was just unbelievable. So that would be a high point. I see people, and it's the same thing as, like I was talking about, there's people at the Blackjack Ball. A lot of the players that used to play for me, they went on to do bigger and better things, but they still talk about that Holmes-Cooney fight, how we just, every single guy won. We just couldn't lose.
That's a good day.
Yeah, we did much better than Jerry Cooney did. I know that.
I remember that. Did it ever get dangerous?
Yeah. It was these casinos are. In golf, you like to see good sportsmanship. Well, in blackjack, you don't see much good sportsmanship from the casinos. I mean, there are exceptions. Some casinos are very nice and they're very tolerant, but they're very greedy and they want to win all the time. So, things have gotten, not so much anymore, but in the past, things used to get rough. I remember one time being it's since been imploded, the Sands. I remember one time being in the Sands and in Las Vegas, and they recognized me as a card counter and they forced me in the back room. And the guy just matter-of-factly, it's just like he had every right to do this. He says, we're going to take your picture, and we're going to, send it out to all the other casinos. I said, no, I don't want you to take my picture. He said, no, we're taking your picture. So I put my hands over my face, and he just said to the security guard, he says, pull his hands down. So the guy pulled my hands down. He slapped me in the face, and he pulled my hands down. He says, we're going to take your picture. And he just took it. And I said, hey, and this was in the early 80s. I said, things are going to change. I knew that this guy was fairly well known. His name was Herb Nunez. He's the manager of the casino. And I said, things are going to change. I said, eventually you're not going to be able to do stuff like this. And, 40 some years later, they're still doing some of that stuff. There's lawsuits. There's, casinos taking people's winnings, blackjack players' winnings. It's rare, but most times, luckily it's dissipated, but it still happens. It's amazing in this country if you do, all you're doing is playing the game according to their rules, and you're doing a good job of playing the game, and they feel like they have the right to, do all these intimidation tactics.
Yeah. They don't like to lose. But
right, and they don't lose. They win every day. But they win every day, but they're not happy with winning They want to win more.
Yeah.
They have to beat everybody.
Yeah.
That's the way they feel.
Well, golf is a game that we talk about. Is it fair? Is it not fair? It's interesting when you're talking about card counting and getting an advantage, right? That just gives you that sort of slim nudge in the odds in your favor,
Right.
And it made me sort of think about now what's going on in golf with like analytics, right? So like the top and elite players are trying to find that like half a stroke or that one stroke that in professional golf can make a difference of millions of dollars. And I know you, do you employ any sort of analytics in your golf game, or do you just go out and,
Boy,
I think we just went out and went after it today.
I got to be one of the dumbest golfers. I mean, I try and think out there, but, I try all kinds of different, putting techniques and, I've taken a lot of lessons. But yeah, I just kind of, I don't know. I certainly would never have made money as a golfer. Not just because of my lack of ability, but I'm not, I feel like I play reasonably smart. I don't hit a lot of stupid shots. I don't make a bunch of double bogeys. I don't make, but no, I'm no genius playing golf. That's for sure.
Speaking of lessons, you took some lessons with a pretty well-known instructor. Tell us about how that happened.
I've taken lessons from a lot of well-known instructors. I don't think I told you. I've taken lessons from, let's see, Dave Peltz, Butch Harmon, Stan Utley. I took a Hank Haney disciple, Marius Filmalder, who invented the SAM putting machine.
Yeah.
Science in Motion putting machine. I took, I was in Hank Haney's book. I met, I didn't actually take a lesson from Hank Haney, but he wrote about me in his book.
What did he write about you in his book?
About my putting issues. He wrote,
Blackjack.
He wrote a book about the yips. And I told him, I said, don't use my name. I said, it's too embarrassing. And so it went right over his head. He just put my name right in there. I think, yeah. But no, that was embarrassing. But no, but my best lesson by far, I mean, I'm sure, I think he's universally known as the best instructor. The best teacher has to be Butch Harmon. I mean, what he did for me, I was telling this story earlier, but
yeah, but we weren't listening. You got to tell. It's a great story. Tell me how he fixed you up.
My first, when I was until my mid 30s, I didn't take many lessons, but I decided I got on this kick where I was going to try and get better. So I first went to this Dave Peltz school, and he helped me a little bit. But the way that school worked is Dave Peltz would speak, then you'd go to all these different stations, and you got these different instructors and all. So then I got a little bit better with my short game. My short game was horrible, so my wife could see how much I was agonizing over my short game. So for Christmas, she got me a lesson at the Butch Harmon School, figuring maybe he'd help me in some areas where Dave Peltz didn't help me. So I said, I don't know if I want to do another one of these schools. So I called up the receptionist and I tried to switch it to individual lessons with Butch Harmon. And she said, yeah, you can. You can get 4 individual lessons with Butch Harmon. And I said, oh, this is great. And so I'll never forget how smart this guy was. The first time I went there, right away, I was his sole focus. That's all he was interested in, what I wanted to do. And it was going to be an hour lesson. And he said, what do you want to work on? I said, Butch, I think I said, Mr. Harmon. I said, I'm the most horrible chipper around. I said, I want you to teach me how to chip. He says, well, let me see you hit a couple chips. So I stabbed one, then I stabbed another one. I might hit one half decent. He says, okay. He says, try another one. So he's just standing like a little bit behind me. And I took the club back, and somehow he grabbed my elbow or my shoulder, and he just turned me right at the exact right time. And the club hit the ball perfect. And the chip went up there right on the green softly. He says, this is what and he just showed me, after you do this, you got to turn. And it was by the end of the lesson, I was chipping the ball so perfect. I mean, I looked like Maria Lossaball or something. I was chipping the ball so beautiful, and I couldn't even get the ball on the green before the lesson. It was unreal. And so then, and anything I wanted to do, he'd carve up the lesson in whatever segments I want. If I want to chip for half hour, then hit wedges and hit irons, driver. So, but I only had 4 lessons. So, and I said, can I space them out as long as I want? I said, I want to wait till I really have a problem and I want to come to you. He said, space them out wherever you want. It's all in the records. You can take them however. So the last lesson I took was in the spring of 2009. So I, did some chipping, hit some irons. I said, can I hit the driver for the last 20 minutes? So I'm hitting the ball on the range. And to the left of me, there's other people hitting balls on the range. And so I'm hitting this Cobra driver, and it made a real loud sound. And so I got in a groove, and I was hitting him pretty good, and he's telling me this, telling me that. And all of a sudden, this guy walks over, and he says, boy, I really like the way you're hitting that driver. What kind of driver is that? And it was Lucas Glover. And I said, Lucas, I said, I don't hit this driver as well as your forehand. He says, no. He says, you're really hitting it great. And he's just so nice. And so after the lesson, I want to find out more about the guy. So I looked up the stats and I says, boy, he's a really good ball striker and he hits it far and he's a really good driver of the ball. So we dabble in sports betting. Back at the time, we do a little bit more of it now, but back in the day we were dabbling in sports betting. There's some pretty good edges out there. The sports books didn't know that much about golf. So there was these odds for the U.S. Open. And because he had come up to me, I would have never noticed him. I started looking at all these players, and I said, this guy at 240 to 1 might be a good bet. It's worth putting some money on him. So we bet some other guys, but me and 3 or 4 other guys, we put almost $1,000 on him, and we won. He won the 2009 U.S. Open at Bethpage. So instead of spending $2,000, I actually made a profit by going at Butch Harmon. That's one way to look at it. You can't always say what happened afterwards. It was really smart because it worked out, but somehow that was like I'm the only guy where I made a bunch of money from taking lessons from Butch Harmon.
There you go. I sense it. So there's a theme there. It's about, if you can get a little bit advantage, in blackjack, you can put the odds in your favor. And as golfers, I think that's something we can really relate to. I mean, it's natural that you start as a golfer because that idea of like, if you can, whatever advantage you can get, right? If it's a swing aid or taking a lesson, or if there's a coach out there that can fix my early extension or whatever, like I'm all in on it, right? I'm looking for that, whatever that edge can be. And if you can get that in blackjack, how do you go about getting that? I know, so you would be considered what they would call like an advantage player, right? So you play when there's an advantage, and the rest of us suckers are playing, just going out for fun, and not playing it with an advantage. How do you get advantages when you're betting on golf or sports or stuff like that?
Well, sports is tricky. It's not easy to beat sports, and like markets like the NFL and stuff are really tough to beat. People tell you they're winning money in the NFL. They're probably fooling themselves or they're lying. It's tough. But there's, some of these sports books aren't that smart, and even though they're taking, most lines are -110 on both sides, so you have to lay 11 to 10, and eventually that'll grind you out. But they have to post a line on every single game, every single golf tournament, and they make a lot of mistakes. And if you have a model or somebody else has a model that you follow, you can beat sports. I mean, there's such a thing as, just like there's professional blackjack players, there's professional sports bettors. Like famous one is Billy Walters. There's other famous, Tony Bloom is, he's a famous, made a lot of money betting sports. And like I say, I'm far from one of the best sports bettors. I mean, that's like a sideline, but there's edges to be figured out there. There's ways to get mathematical edges, with parlays and correlated things. A lot of times you can parlay something that they put out there as independent, but they're correlated. Like an example would be like, let's say, since you got a Notre Dame guy, we'll say Notre Dame is playing Texas. Or we'll say Notre Dame.
Lord.
Notre Dame. We'll say no. We'll say Notre Dame is
not going to be good.
Notre Dame is playing some easy school like Northern Illinois.
Oh, stop! Now you're just rubbing.
And they're like 30-point favorites. So But let's say the total is, say Notre Dame's a 30-point favorite and the total is 37. So, you know, and that's the right line for the game and it's the right line for the total. But if you bet Notre Dame minus 30 and Notre Dame covers, the total is very likely to go over 37. There's not that many scores where Notre Dame can cover 30 points and be over 37. Right. The same thing with Northern Illinois. If you take Northern Illinois plus 30 and they cover the spread, the total's liable to go under 37. The score might be 20-10 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So you parlay that, and even though neither bet by itself is an advantage, the fact that you parlayed it would be an advantage. And there's all kinds of little nuances like that.
I like that. That's smart. Yeah.
Because but they don't let you do that. That's like an obvious example. But there's more subtle correlation where you can get an edge.
Yeah, I remember one year, my buddy was able to parlay Vijay Singh to win and the winner to come from, you know, they do them by region, North America, Europe, and Asia. He was able to double that.
That's ridiculous.
Which is crazy.
That's really crazy. Yeah. They make like obvious mistakes like that. They're putting up so much stuff that's easy for them to make mistakes, you know. But it's not that easy. I mean, it's hard. Yeah. Making money at sports is hard. It's harder than making money at blackjack.
Yeah, but it's really impressive. I mean, what you've developed is a skill. And what is it about you that if it was that easy, everyone would go out and play blackjack for a living? Trust me, you make it sound very easy. What is it about you that's made it possible for you to make a career out of this? You're doing this a long time.
I've always said I don't know why more people don't play blackjack. It's not that hard, but you have to be determined and you can't be intimidated. I mean, I'm scared of lots of things, but I'm not scared of these casinos. They can, punch me in the face. They can have me arrested. I'm going to keep going back. You know, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing what's right, and they shouldn't be able to not let me play. So I'm going to keep playing. You know, that's a lot of people, we call it heat. A lot of people don't like the heat. Like my wife used to play. She didn't like it. I mean, it's very, they're really nasty sometimes. So, that's one of the reasons a lot of people don't do it.
Is there a game? So you're playing a lot of golf. If you're out in Vegas or, all the time, do you have a favorite? So we just played an easy Nassau today. Do you have a favorite gambling game in golf that you like to go to?
I'm not a big gambler. I like to play tournaments. I sign up for nowadays. I mean, I don't know what's after super senior golf. I don't think there's much.
Super duper senior.
Yeah, but I like to play tournaments. I don't care about gambling for $100 Nassau's or anything. I don't do that much. I play small money games, but I like to play tournaments. I sign up for every senior and super senior tournament I can find.
I think I wish all our Golfers Journal members, Broken Tea Society members could play golf with you, because I think when you look at, the things you qualified for, which would be a dream for a lot of people. I think for any golfer to qualify for a USGA event, you have a really solid game, but it's not one where you'd look and say, oh, that guy's a +5, or he hits at 1,000,000 miles, or it's but you know how to get your ball around, and you've figured out how to score and figured out how to get it done.
Yeah, I've had all kinds of. Every time I solve one problem, I have a new one.
Everyone.
Like now, my problem is distance. I hit it nowhere. I hit it so short, it's bad. But I used to hit it, a reasonable distance. I was never a long hitter, but I was always like the second or third longest hitter in my group. Now, even at my age in the super seniors, I'm the shortest hitter almost every time. But I used to not be able to chip at all. I couldn't hit a chip. When I hit the ball good, I couldn't chip. When I started being able to chip better, I couldn't hit the ball very far. So it's like the rat on a treadmill. It's just like it never ends. You can't solve the game for sure.
You can't, and that is golf. But I think that you have figured out a way to get it around. And and you're just a competitive guy, I imagine. You've got to be competitive to get into tournament situations and be able to put in a score that's going to get you through the cut.
I like tournaments. I mean, when we played today,
a lot of people are terrified of tournaments, and I might be one of them. So like, that's not everyone has that.
I know a lot of guys that don't want to play individual. They only want to play better ball. I like individual tournaments. I like to see what I could shoot. But like when I was playing today, I mean, we were trying to win the match, but I don't really care if I win or lose those matches. I'm just out there to have fun and tell stories and all that. But when I'm in a tournament, I get really down if I play bad, and I'm really excited if I play good.
Yeah. Well, it was awesome playing with you, Tommy, and it's been great to get to know you and listen to some of your stories. And you've lived just such a fascinating life. Everyone, I think, in the Philly section, and there's a lot of great players in the section. And it's just, it's been a real pleasure. It would be a real thrill for me. I have a deck of cards here.
Right.
Bicycle playing cards, an official deck. If I could play a hand of blackjack with you. Or what would be cool?
I'll show you how to count.
I was going to say, show me how to count. I want to see if you can run through a deck.
Here's what we do. When you want to learn how to count, and I've had some beers, but I'm sure I can do. This is how you learn. You take 3 cards out without looking at them. Okay. And this is how you know if you get it right. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is +1. 7, 8, 9 is nothing. And 10, Jack, Queen, King, and Ace is -1. So you count these 49 cards, and it should come out. The deck should come out to 0. So the reason you take 3 out, if you just take 1 out, you might get lucky and guess it right. But so anyway, so you can turn them over 2 at a time or 1 at a time. So that's nothing. That's 0. So it's even. You say even. +2. Still +2. They cancel out. Still +2. They cancel. Still +2. +3. +5. +3. +4. +2. Even. Still even. Still even. -1. +1. Even. +2. Still +2. +1. Even. Still even. Still even. So this should be even. There should be, whatever. There should be 3 neutral cards, or a high, low, and a neutral. So it says an 8, an ace, and a 5. So it's even.
You got a high and a low and a neutral.
You got a high, a low, and a neutral. So that's how you do it.
You made that look pretty easy, and you're doing it 2 cards at a time.
Yeah. So what you do, the way you would practice is when you first do this, and you go through a deck, you can do 1 at a time. You practice both 1 at a time and 2 at a time, because when you're playing, the way the dealer deals is they deal like this. So you don't do anything yet. You don't count the card. Let's say there's 4 people playing. You don't count anything yet. As soon as this guy gets his second card, you count. So you say -1. You don't count this yet. You still -1, still -1, still -1. You don't count this yet. Okay, now that's why you count 2 at a time, because you're canceling. So you got -1.
Okay.
Now then you play according to strategy. This guy would double down. So you're still -1. Now you count both these. So now you go to +1. And he busts. So your count is +1. Now you remember that +1 into the next round.
Okay.
So that's the reason. So when you flip cards and you're practicing, you flip them 1 at a time or 2 at a time. And what you do when you first start, that exercise I did where you take the 3 cards out. Mm-hmm. When you first start, it might take you 2 minutes to go through the deck. As soon as you get down to where you can go through a deck within 40 seconds, you're fast enough to keep track of the, like a slow dealer. As soon as you get to like 35 seconds, you can keep track of almost any dealer. As soon as you get to 30 seconds, you keep track of the fastest dealer in the world. There's no way that dealer can deal faster than you can count. So that's basically how it works.
Put the time in, put the practice in.
Yeah. Yeah, it usually takes like a week. You carry a deck around with you. You flip cards for off and on for a week, and you're usually within 30 seconds by a week.
All right.
They just had a contest at the Blackjack Ball, and some guy, I think he counted in 12 seconds or something like that.
Threw a whole
deck down in 12 seconds. Yeah. I think he was the winner, 12 or 13 seconds, something like that. My wife could count faster than me. She could count in 17 seconds. It usually would take me like 19.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, can you deal me one-handed blackjack so I can say I played a hand with Tommy Hyland?
Sure.
You can be the house.
Okay.
I'm going to take all your money. I'm all in.
Yeah, so usually when they start, they would burn a card.
Yeah, we'll burn a card.
And then you would get a card.
Oh, Queen of Hearts.
Then I'd get a card.
Down.
And you get another card.
Oh, and Jack. Oh, baby.
You got
the count is plus 100.
That's like the best. That's a significant advantage. A 20 against a 5.
20 against a 5
all day. You almost can't lose.
All right,
so
double down.
You don't split. No, you can never double down. Some people would split. If the count's high enough, you're actually supposed to split.
Would you?
Those.
Okay, what if there was jacks?
If there's
would I split it against the 5?
Well, you can split a jack and a queen. Any 10 cards you're allowed to split.
You are?
Yeah, but you only split those if the count's pretty high.
Okay.
You never split those when we're first starting out. So there'd have to be a lot of extra 10s and aces left in the shoe. So you'd have to be really unlucky to lose this hand. It's like, to lose that match today, we were really unlucky.
Really unlucky.
The same thing would happen.
Unlucky.
Look, now you're in trouble.
He turned to 6. He's got 11, 15,
20. We tied.
20.
So
man.
We pushed. All right. That's good.
Well, that's
a good outcome.
I
would
played
like
a hand with Tommy
pushing
Hyland.
that golf match today. That would have been nice.
Yeah, we were close. We'll do it again. But Tommy, it's been such a pleasure, man. I can't thank you enough for the time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You're awesome.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And if you enjoyed this episode, we strongly encourage you to become a member of the Golfer's Journal, or if you already are, to share it with your friends. As a reader-supported publication, we couldn't do it without you. We also couldn't do it without the help of our partners, and they are Titleist, Scotty Cameron, FootJoy, Holderness & Bourne, Omega, Charles Schwab, and BMW. We'll see you next time on the Golfer's Journal podcast.